Hello everyone, I am Ron and I am the game design instructor for the Academy of Entertainment Arts over at Dixie Hollands High School. If you are one of my students, it's Mr. Flowers to you, and welcome to this video tutorial. Okay, so last time we set up our arm and shoulder IKs, and now we're going to set up the controller for the wrist, the shoulder, and the elbow. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Just like we did before with the foot, we're going to create a controller curve for our hand. So I'm going to go up to curves and just drag in a circle. That works. Alright, I'm just going to snap this to my wrist here. So selection tool and then hold down the V key and then drag that up to the wrist. F to frame up. Make sure that's on the wrist there. Now you have a few choices. Since we created our arm at an angle like this, it's going to be kind of tricky to get this oriented the way that we want. If it's going to be like around the hand, or you can keep it kind of like this. Let me go into a front view so you can see. You can have it to where it's kind of like a bracelet around the hand, or you can make it to where it is in the same direction of the hand. This is really a personal preference. It doesn't really matter so long as you can get a hold of it. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set this sort of on the wrist, kind of like a bracelet. So Control Z there, and then I'm going to shape this down. A good enough size so that I can grab it from pretty much anywhere. And you can see that because of the angle, it's a little bit skewed. Just going to have to fix that. So let's see my top view here. That should be good enough. I'm just trying to match the rotation of my hand here. Okay, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to zero this out. So first things first, let's grab the controller. We're going to call this the left. We'll call it hand control. And then make sure it's selected, come up to modify, and then do a freeze transformations. That will set everything back to 0. And now we want to select our hand control, and then we want the wrist IK. So I'm going to come in here and shift select my wrist IK. Make sure that's selected, left wrist IK. Make sure I'm in rigging, and then up here under constraints, we're going to want to do a point constraint. There we go. So now wherever this thing is pointing to, the hand should follow. After we set up the point constraint, we need to set up a rotation constraint, but this one's going to be a little bit tricky just because we're not doing it to the IK, we're going to do it to the actual wrist. So select the controller here, and then get in here and select the wrist joint. So you don't want the IK, you want the actual joint. So shift select, make sure you have the joint, and you can check up here left wrist, and that's the bone name. And if you have it selected correctly, you'll see that the hand is all lit up. Okay. And we're going to do a constrain and come down to orient. Now if you do this and the hand flips, you did something wrong. So go ahead and do this. And my hand didn't flip, but if yours does, I'll show you what happens there. So go into the options. So by default, this maintain offset is unchecked. If you hit apply, it'll cause a flip. So that's where, come here you. So just make sure that maintain offset is checked and then hit apply. So now when I grab this and I want to rotate it, it's going to rotate based on my handle. Okay. Okay, so there's that one. And now let's go up and do the shoulder. Same deal with the shoulder. I'm just going to create a curve. So hit my curve tool and just drag out a curve here. Now I'm going to snap that to my shoulder. Hold down the V key and drag to the shoulder. F to frame up. Just make sure it's on the shoulder there. And I'm going to rotate this so that it is easier for me to grab. I'm going to put it at a slight angle so I can kind of get to it. It's good enough. Scale that down so it fits my shoulder. That'll work. And I'm going to call this left shoulder control. With my left shoulder control, I just want to get in here and grab that left shoulder IK. So I'm going to come in and shift select left shoulder IK, make sure I have that. And with this, we're just going to do a point constraint. So go up to constrain, come down to point. So there we have that. So now wherever our shoulder constraint or shoulder control is, we can sort of aim our shoulder to it. Okay. Don't forget to zero this out. So go up to modify, freeze transforms. That should be good. And now that we have this, we need to parent this to our central joint here in the middle of the body. But we don't want to parent this directly. We want to create a group. So go ahead and do Control and then G. And that's going to group this. And we're going to call this left shoulder control group. I'm just going to go into my 2 view. So hit my little 2 view over here. And then bring up my hypergraph. Select my handle. I'm going to hit F while I'm in the hypergraph. There we go. So there's my shoulder, and there's my shoulder group. So left shoulder control group. And with this selected, I want to select this middle bone here between my collarbones. So just hold down Shift and then click on that. And then we're just going to parent that together. So just hit the P key. There we go. And with that parented, wherever the body moves, it should move the shoulder, as you can see. Alright, good deal. I'm going to go ahead and exit my 2 view. So now we have our shoulder and our wrist. The next thing I want to do is create a pull vector for our elbow. So wherever our elbow points, we can kind of control that. It's going to work the same way with the knee. Set up some sort of curve and then use that for the knee. I'm actually going to, I'll do something different. Last time I drew a star. Maybe I'll draw something else for like the elbow here. Go in my top view. What should I draw? Maybe I'll do. I like this little cross shape thing here, so I'll do that. Again, you can make whatever you want. I'm just doing this for difference effects here. Sure, that'll be my control for my elbow. And since I drew this off the center axis, I'm just going to go to Modify and then Center Pivot. And I will snap that to my elbow joint. Hold down the V key and drag that to your elbow. Make sure that's good on there. And then I'm going to drag it away just far enough so it'll be out of, like it's not going to be in the way of what I'm doing. Because just like with the knee, if the elbow bends or moves, you don't want this to kind of get in the way. So go ahead and name this. This is going to be left elbow control. And I will rotate this so that it is nice in my view. I just did a 90-degree rotation. Go ahead and freeze your transforms here. Modify, freeze. And now what we want to do is we want to select our elbow control and then select the wrist IK. And we're going to do a pole vector. So go up to constrain, and then do a pole vector. Where are you at? There we go. So now wherever the wrist moves, the elbow will point in the direction of our pole vector. Okay. All right, and now we want to create a group for this, so Control G. We're going to call this left elbow control group. And we're going to group the parent of this to the center of this again. So just in case, we'll open up our 2 view, go to our hypergraph, and in here just hit F to frame up. There's our left elbow control group. And then go ahead and shift select the middle bone here, and then press the P key to parent that. And now whenever our body moves, that should move with it. And if I move my wrist, you can see it. I can always move this around. Okay, I'll go back and zero those out. Alright, with all these created, we should be pretty good. We can move our wrist, and you can see that our elbow controller works. Kind of grab that and can point our elbow. I need to go and do my skin weights. Don't worry about that. That's just me. But the elbow does work. And then the shoulder, if I need to adjust how the shoulder is, we can always pull that forward or back. A lot of animators will set up a secondary control with a pole vector here. We're not going to do that unless we really need to. I think we're okay without it right here. In the next video, we're going to do the wrist control to set up some of the fingers, kind of like we do with the foot. We're going to do a set driven key for this. But for right now, this should be good for this video. Go ahead and save your work. Make sure that you do the same thing for the other side. And I will see you guys next time.